What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Scale Model Junkie YouTube channel. We're going to be painting the 1/4 scale Wonder Woman, which was designed by ZEZ Studios and painted by me, the Scale Model Junkie. So we're going to jump right into the painting process, which obviously started with a primer, which just was out of a regular rattle can. Because this is resin and it gets cleaned with alcohol, you want to make sure that you get all the resin off, and that way you have a good solid foundation for the primer coat. Once it was all primed, we jump right into doing the base colors. Because the Wonder Woman here has a lot of exposed skin, all the paint colors to paint the skin was AK Interactive, the Flesh Tone set. We started with the shadow color first, and then we'll progress through the various shades of the skin tones, which again is all used by AK Interactive. So while we're doing that, why don't we hit that like and subscribe button? It really helps me out, grow the channel. And I know it's been a little while, but I'm getting back into it. It's a little bit different than my normal military scale models, but I've been getting into the 3D printing world, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. So let's keep it going. So like I said, this is the AK Interactive skin colors. We start with the, I think this was just a regular basic flesh tone. Again, we're just doing layers. Light coats, you want to have that undercolor kind of show through, and gives you that shadow tone. And once the shadow colors, or the skin colors I should say, are done, we just kind of continue over the whole body, or anywhere there is exposed flesh. And being a 1/4 scale figure, this thing was pretty big. I don't know the exact measurement, but it got to be at least 15-16 inches tall. So as you can see, I'm just sitting there, and I just color the skin colors, the skin tones, trying to make sure I don't cover up too much of the shadow area. I don't want it all one color. I want to kind of get those underlying tones to show through. And this is just some of the technique that I use. It's all done by an airbrush, which the airbrush I'm using, I use a few separate ones. I have one that's in Iwata, the HPCS, I think it is, and then I have a few Galeri airbrushes that I use. All right, after the base color is done, now we're going to try to give it some life, showing some of the blood vessels that you would see on a human body. I do that with a light wash of a red, I think this was the AK visceral color, I'm not sure. But anyway, the technique is you just use a light wash and then hit it with some isopropyl alcohol, and it kind of gives it gives that spidering look, which replicates like blood vessels under the skin. It gives a really cool effect, and I like the way it looks, especially on this large scale model. It's something that really you can see up close when you're looking at it. Once that was done, I then moved on to the eyes. And again, because this is such a large scale model, you really got to focus and pay attention to the detail, because it really stands out in 1/4 scale. As I'm jumping around here, going from the eyes to the hair, just trying to work on this head and have it come along as I go. But once I get the eyes going, then I try to work on her lips a little bit and try to get that, that realistic look of a lip, but without the lipstick or any type of makeup on. I was trying to go for that natural look. Here you can see I'm just penciling in the where the pupil goes, trying to make sure that I get the right the stare, because obviously at this size, you don't want to make them look cross-eyed, or have where their eyes are not tracking equally. So I've found that pencil's the best way to get this done. Once the pencil was complete, then I just use a blue and try to get a striking color, and just make it look as good as I can get. All right, now we move on to the torso color, which is like a blood red for her uniform. It's very bright color. And again, this will all get toned down once I do the follow-up and subsequent washes, and kind of chip up the armor. All right, I cover up any of her armor that is this color, red. Try to focus on all the details. Again, this is such a large print that you really got to make sure that you're good with the brush, because if you mess it up, little details that if you paint over certain areas that aren't supposed to be painted, it will definitely stick out. So I just you just got to take your time and brush it where it needs to be brushed. And as you can see, this paint is really good. It gets good coverage, and I really like the way it came out. Kind of bouncing all over the place, but here we're painting her battle skirt or gladiator skirt, I guess, whatever it's called. We start with a lighter blue, but I didn't really like the other blue, so I use a little bit of Prussian blue, kind of darkens it up. And I just go over that in the areas where I had just painted. But this is a really good kit. The 3D printing stuff that I've been getting into, yeah, these designs and these prints are absolutely amazing with the level of detail and the quality of them. I don't know how these guys design these things, but this is a really good one. Right, so this actually paint here is from the Atom line by Ammo by Meg. It's a good metal color, and I was looking for a steel color for her headband here. And again, just covering up all the areas. Want to make it shiny, and then I'm going to add some gold color to it once this is dry. I touch up any areas where this silver color or steel color will be on her outfit. This is kind of like as you wish. Give you a little bit of artistic license. You don't have to be perfect with it, and you can kind of make it whatever color you want. I tried to stay as close to the render that the person that has sculpted and designed this statue was, but it's kind of, again, you get a little bit of free reign. It doesn't have to be exactly how they did it. And again, I'm just kind of jumping all over here. This project took, it was about a week long straight to print. Everything was printed on my Elegoo Saturn 4 Ultra 16K. And that printer does a pretty good job, but it's not really that big. And printing in a quarter scale size like this, it took me a week to print the whole thing. And then obviously it took a long time to paint as well. Probably a good 2 weeks worth of painting, just trying to get it done. But life is busy. I got 3 kids and trying to manage all that and, do this hobby. It takes up a lot of time. So that's why I really haven't been really putting too many videos out there lately. But I'm getting back into it. My next video, I'm thinking about doing another military kit. So we'll see. But let's get back on to the Wonder Woman here. All right, this is that gold color I was telling you about. This is just another, I believe it's actually a brass color, because that was the best thing that would show up and leave a shine. And it really, on top of the steel, it kind of gave it that metal look, which I was satisfied with. And again, just go over all the areas. I'm just kind of using the image renders that I was given to try to mimic that, and just keep on going over it and keep working it in until I'm satisfied with the result. Here there are recessed lines that are all over her outfit, and I just fill that in with a satin black color and just go over it and just try to be as still with my hand as possible. Again, this takes a while, but once it's done, it gives a pretty good finished result. Here you can see I'm just painting now her hair. I used a black brown color and then did a little quick dry brush to lighten it up, give it some highlight tones. But overall, she's got dark hair, so I wanted to keep it as dark as I could. Touch up on the eyebrows. All right, now I'm following up with the brass gold color on the rest of her outfit. Here on her boots, all these straps and um, the metal bits that would be on her on this boot here. Again, just take your time painting and just make sure you get good coverage. Because it is a lighter color, you might have to go over it some areas twice, especially if you got red, that red color. But for the most part, I tried, being as clean as possible when I was painting it, and it wasn't too bad getting the coverage that I needed. Once I was finished with the yellow straps, the brass, then I moved on to the metal. She had a like a steel band around her left thigh. Here we're doing a wash of the dark colors. And again, this is where we're following up after we painted the skirt blue and the little side skirts here. Now we're just doing the yellow brass trim. Again, this is probably would have been maybe easier to tape it, but if you have a steady hand and you take your time, you can get it done and with the similar results. All right, so here we're just painting up her whip, the iconic Wonder Woman whip. I think it's like the lasso of truth or something like that. But we used the gold paint, and then we used some sepia ink to just fill in all those recesses and dirty it up, give it a little bit of texture to it. Here we're just doing the handle for her massive sword that comes with this figure. But painting the handle, trying to get the detail right, make it look like it's a goldish or gold handle with like a leather wrap. So I wanted to make sure it looked battle worn and had a realistic or a convincing finish. Here's that sword I was telling you about. Here we just dry brush it with a steel. And then we're going back to now her forearm armor and painting all the fine metal inlays of the brass or gold. Again, just take your time and you can achieve the really good result. Okay, here's the base, which is a pile of rocks. So I painted it with a warm rock gray color. Then I did some dry brushing with some earth tones, and then I went back over it with that same warm gray color to highlight all the detail. I think it gave a really convincing effect, and I was satisfied with the result. Right here, there was like an old ripped cape or some type of cloth that was draped over it. We made that the same color as the same color as the Wonder Woman. And again, just take your time painting all this, the details. Make sure you don't bleed over onto the rock face, and it gives a really good. It dries it to a nice sheen, and I think it simulates the look that I was looking for of a cape that had fallen on the ground during a battle. Just touch up any areas that might not get covered on the first pass. Again, this paint, this coverage of this paint is really well. It's really good. I really was happy using it. I had no issues with it. Definitely recommend it. Again, touching up any areas where that larger brush can't fit. And again, this is sped up. I think it's like a three times what I was painting it at. I don't paint that fast. All right, these were the spears that actually get inserted into the base. I painted them just an iron color, a steel and a brown to give it like that bronze or that old iron. Painted the handles a wooden color, and then I'll go over it with a mahogany colored ink. It's like a wood base color ink, and kind of tones it down, gives it that look of a varnished wood. I don't know if it's accurate, but it looked good, so that's what I did. They also had some wraps. Again, I use the same color red that I used for the cape, kind of tying the theme all together. And then once this was done, I dry brushed. I used a little buff color, I think it was. Added it to the red just to lighten it up a little bit, and then dry brush some of the highlights to differentiate between the texture and the mold, the way the part was molded. This was that ink I was telling you I applied to give it that varnished look. All right, so now we move on to the helmet. This is another piece that gets displayed on the base on the rocks, and I painted this the brass color, and then I just did some highlight and shadow toning, and I just added some shadows to give the piece a little bit of depth to it, to make it look like it just wasn't one straight color. This is where I dry brushed some of the highlight silver to accent the features that were molded onto the spear. This is the dry brushing I was telling you about with the red color. All right, painted the hair that was displayed on top of the helmet. I just picked a black color. I wasn't sure. I know on the render of the pictures, what I believe was the same color gold, but I wanted to add a little bit of variation, so I chose to make it black. Now, this was probably the most difficult part of the whole build, the painting process. It was so tedious to paint this shield. As you can see, there's a lot of details on there, and every little piece that you see that is raised needs to be painted. So this probably took me almost a full 8 hours to paint, to allow for drying time and sealing it, and just taking my time because it was very tedious. But the finished result is absolutely amazing, and I'm really thrilled with it. And I think, honestly, looking at it and looking at the figure, it's the piece that your eye is most drawn to. So it had to look right, and I had to make sure that I did it justice. But once this is all the interior of the shield. Once this was done, I start working on the outside. But while we're looking at the inside, you can actually see those two little indents. I actually magnetized the shield onto Wonder Woman's arm. That way it could be removed if I was transporting it or if I needed to move it. I didn't have to worry about breaking it off her arm, because it's a solid piece of resin. I didn't hollow this out just because of the size that it was and the way it was shaped. And I didn't want to have to put any drainage holes. So I printed it in one piece. So it's got a little bit of weight to it. So I used those magnets to make sure that it was secured onto her arm. So now we move to the outside of the shield, and the render, the pictures, the way they displayed it was kind of like a grayish, smoky color that was over the black areas of the shield. And the majority of this will be colored with brass, but the parts that are black, I need to get this tone, and I didn't know how I was going to do it. So I used this stencil here, and then I did some sponging, and it got the look that I was looking for. And now, again, this is the brass color, and I just very tediously go over each line, fill in every area, and I have to go over it several times to get the color to cover that black. But the end result, I think, is amazing. And again, you just need a steady hand and patience. And you can see the render of I was going along using that as my guide. And now I'm using the brass color to dry brush and color all the center areas. Here you can see a really close up of what I had to paint. There's like a little spear, and just go around and go over each one Okay, that's it. So this is the finished result. I hope you guys like it. It was a lot of fun to build. It took a lot of time, but I think the finished result really sticks out. It looks like an amazing figure. I really pushed my skills to the test on this one, especially my skin tones. I used some techniques. Obviously, I wasn't able to record everything because it takes weeks to paint these things. It does me anyway, but it was a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. With that being said, I know this was a little different from my normal stuff that I've been doing, my military scale models, but I look forward to mixing it up. I think I'm going to do some planes, some of these 3D figures, and my regular armor stuff. But I hope you really enjoyed it. If you liked it, I'd appreciate it if you give me a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. If you did, thank you so much. I appreciate it. It means a lot. And you can check out my Instagram and Facebook under the same name, the Scale Model Junkie. I do a lot of my work that might not go on YouTube. I post some of my still pictures and some of my other projects that I've been working on those sites. So check them out. And again, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. All right, this is it's been fun. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.